Hello! How are you doing today? I hope you're doing wonderful. I hope your day has been fantastic. Recent reads today, 46 through 50. Okay, let's get started. Book 46 that I read was Summer at Forsaken Lake by Michael D. Beil. This is a middle grade book that I read on the plane when I was in Oregon. Yeah, I read it very quickly. I finished it while I waited for my flight, while I was on the flight, when I got off the flight and realized that my father forgot to pick me up and just sat there and cried all alone with this book. This book kept me company. I'm kidding, by the way, my dad didn't forget about me. Just a little bit. This book centers on a young boy and his two younger twin sisters. For the summer, they are shipped away to this lake to stay with their uncle that they aren't very close to. I think it's their great uncle. While they're at this lake, they quickly make friends. They become well versed in the art of sailing, and they even learn some techniques with boat building, which I thought was really interesting. Things are very smooth sailing, if you would, and happy-go-lucky until the kids discover this old film that their father apparently made when he was their age at the lake. Because of certain events, this film was never completed, and the kids take it upon themselves to now solve that mystery and figure out what happened, why was the film never completed, why did certain things happen. Spoiler, 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 I'm not going to tell you. Overall, I enjoyed this book, but it was not anything special. It was a little slow at times. The characters were a little underdeveloped, and because of that, I found myself way more interested in the mystery and plot aspect. One thing I will say though is that it's still a great summer read. When you're reading this, you feel like you're at the lake with these kids. You feel like you're sailing with them, you're swimming with them, you're having a grand time. If you enjoy middle grade and you're craving a summer book that has a hint of mystery, you might enjoy this. After that, I read a short story by F. Scott Fitzgerald, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. You may have heard of the movie. Brad Pitt stars in it, and I like it a lot. Okay, so Benjamin Button was born in 1860, and we follow his life. That's it. Pretty simple. At least you think it would be that simple. But no. Benjamin was born an old man, and for reasons unknown, he ages backwards. This is a short story, but I wish so badly that this was a full-length novel, and I say that to myself, but I know really that this works better as a short story, and the reason being for that is because this feels like it's a satire on aging, the quickness of time, the unescapable fate that is death, that we just, as people, oftentimes seem to just shove to the side. We pretend it's not there. We also, as a society, don't view aging in a positive light. We look down upon it, which is ridiculous because that's just life. So Benjamin is born old, and when you're reading this, it's really thrown in your face that we treat our elderly horribly. Again, another thing we seem to glaze over and pretend as if it's not there. Why do we do that? Those are just some things this little short story left me pondering about. I would say, in its own right, this story is beautiful in its own bizarre way. I'd also really recommend seeing the movie if you haven't. It takes this story and just expands it tenfold. Before reading this, I wasn't really interested in reading any more Fitzgerald, but after reading this, well, I think I will read more soon. After that, I read Hotel Megalodon by Rick Chesler. So, we have this underwater hotel, and we have this prehistoric shark. Just let that sink in for a moment. What do you think happens? If you're thinking that this shark is about to fuck shit up, well, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I would like to tell you that this book has more to offer, but it doesn't. Not really. I'm comparing this book to Meg by Steve Alten because I can't help it. Meg is ridiculous. Yes, I know that. But Meg at least tries to give you a plausible reason as to why this extinct shark is still alive. It's a ridiculous reason, but it tries. Hotel Megalodon does not do that at all. This underwater hotel is about to have its grand opening, but it's quickly derailed by this shark, but we're never given any reason as to how or why this shark came about. If you're going to have an extinct creature in your novel, you need to convince me as to how this could be possible. If you're not going to do that, then what's the point? Besides that, the writing is poor, the characters are laughable, and in reading this with the plot, it makes me feel as if this book is destined to be a sci-fi movie. It just screams Sharknado, even though it's not Sharknado. But it has that feeling. Sci-fi. Make this a thing. Even with saying all of that though, this book is entertaining. It's very, very entertaining, but I would recommend to not read this and to read Meg by Steve Alten instead, because it's better. After that, I read A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess. I think everyone at one point or another has heard of A Clockwork Orange, except me. I don't know anything. I did know that there was a movie, but I didn't know anything about the movie. So going into this, I was not prepared for this. I was not prepared for this. Wow. This book is a beautiful, dark piece of art. That's all I can say. No, there's more I can say. This dystopian novel gives a dark vision of the future where criminals rule the night. This story is told from a very disturbed young teen named Alex. Him and his gang of friends commit really terrible crimes, all the while speaking in this slang language that they've created. When Alex's freedom is taken away from him, at what cost will it take for him to redeem himself? Is kind of what we're left with. I think a lot of people are hesitant to pick up this book because of the shocking ultra violence in this. I'm not going to tell you that there isn't violence, because there is a lot. Very vivid descriptions that are at times very uncomfortable to read, but even with all of that, this book does not glorify violence. It's not even a book about violence per se. It kind of feels more as if this book is about the exploration between right and wrong when you're dealing with free will. You know, do you choose to be bad or do you condition yourself to be good? Another thing I thought was really interesting being used in this was the slang or the made-up language the kids had. The first couple of pages I was very confused and I didn't like it, but then I quickly found myself catching on to this language, and then the novel hooked me. There are so many things you could talk about with this book, but I don't want to ramble on forever and bore you, so I will end it there. I really enjoyed this a lot. Oh, and also thank you Book Yoda Dalton for introducing me to this book. This was wow. The last book that I'm going to talk about today is Red Dragon by Thomas Harris. On recommendation from Book Yoda Adrian, the other Book Yoda, I recently watched Red Dragon and Silence of the Lambs for the first time. I enjoyed them so much that I needed to read the books. So I did. I read Red Dragon. I have yet to read Silence of the Lambs, but I do have a copy. It's right here. It's very pretty. I will read this hopefully soon. I really want to. But back to Red Dragon. Our main character, Will Graham, was a profiler for the FBI until he got badly injured when identifying a specific serial killer whose name might rhyme with cannibal. Hannibal Lecter. That's not funny, I know. Will ends up retiring for quite a while until his old boss comes back and asks him for help in identifying this new killer that is out and about killing people, called the Tooth Fairy. I really enjoyed this, and I read this a lot faster than I thought I would. I don't know why, but Will's thought process, I guess you would say, was just so consuming. He has a lot of empathy, and his ability to put himself into someone else's shoes almost felt like a gift, but also a curse. By being able to put himself in the mind of these killers so easily, he often thought to himself, you know, am I one of them? Having seen the movie before this, I knew that Hannibal's character didn't play the biggest part in this novel, but even with that, it's as if you feel Hannibal's presence lurking over Will at all times. It was weird. My only gripe with this book is that I wish there was more Hannibal, but Hannibal actually kind of freaks me out a lot, so maybe I don't want that. I don't know. And that's it. Those are all the books that I will be talking about today. If you read any of these, leave a comment down below and we could talk and stuff. That'd be cool. And I will see you all in another video.